It is, it's so easy to forget what it feels like to start completely from scratch.
Oh, totally.
Like, think about the language you speak every day. You don't even, think about the grammar or the vocabulary or the structure. It just
Right,
flows.
the neural pathways are so deeply grooved at that point.
Exactly. Formulating a sentence takes like zero conscious effort. But if you consider what happens in the brain when you have to rebuild that entire ability to communicate from absolutely nothing, it's wild.
It is a monumental task.
It really is. And today, we are looking at a foundational document that kind of shows us exactly how the human mind achieves this.
Yeah, we have our hands on a really interesting source document.
We do. It's a transcript of an introductory English language learning lesson, specifically titled Day 5, Family Members and Relationships.
And analyzing this kind of foundational educational material, it gives us a truly unique window into cognitive architecture.
Right.
We are essentially looking at the source code for human connection. It shows us how highly complex abstract ideas like social dynamics and emotional reciprocity are carefully dismantled.
Just broken down into pieces.
Yes, packaged for a brain that has absolutely no existing framework to process them in this new phonetic environment.
Because this isn't just a review of basic English for the sake of nostalgia, right?
Not at all.
Our mission today is to unpack the underlying psychology and the strategic architecture of how we actually learn to connect with other people. We want to discover what this structured 5-day lesson reveals about our core human priorities.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack this, because whether you, our listener, are currently trying to learn a new skill yourself, maybe you were designing a training manual for a new colleague at work, or you are just insanely curious about how the brain acquires information without completely overloading, there is just a masterclass in cognitive scaffolding hidden inside this seemingly simple lesson plan.
There really is. The invisible architecture of teaching a beginner is something we often take for granted.
Oh, for sure.
When you examine the raw transcript of this Day 5 lesson, the deliberate psychological choices made by the instructor become apparent within, the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
They are managing the learner's neurobiology just as much as their vocabulary.
And the lesson opens by actively managing that neurobiology. I mean, the title of the lesson is Family Members and Relationships, but the instructor completely ignores family for the first portion of the class.
Right, they put it on hold.
Exactly. Instead, they institute a highly structured cognitive warm-up. They anchor the learner entirely in what they already know from days 1 through 4.
Just sticking to the familiar.
Yeah, having them recite basic greetings like, hello, how are you? And stating their identity with, my name is, or I am from. Then they list basic numbers like 1 through 3, basic time and days like Monday or January, colors like red and blue.
This very fundamental concepts.
Right, and then describing a very rigid daily routine, like waking up at 6 o'clock, brushing their teeth, eating breakfast, and studying English every day.
It's very methodical.
To me, language learning has always seemed akin to physical exercise. And this opening review, it's the mental equivalent of stretching before a heavy workout.
That's a great way to look at it.
Like, you wouldn't walk cold into a gym and try to deadlift 100 pounds. You have to warm up the muscles.
Or, in this case, activate the specific neural networks associated with English.
Right, before introducing the heavy new concepts.
What's fascinating here is the underlying pedagogical strategy, which taps directly into dopaminergic reward loops.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, when a brain encounters a completely novel, challenging environment, like a foreign language classroom, the amygdala often interprets that high cognitive friction as a threat.
Wow, really? A threat?
Yes, which spikes anxiety and actually blocks memory formation. So by forcing the learner to recite something like, I wake up at 6 o'clock, a phrase they have already mastered, the instructor is intentionally lowering that effective filter.
They are manufacturing early victories.
Exactly. They are essentially regulating the learner's nervous system through repetition.
That makes so much sense.
And the instructor immediately pivots from those repeated phrases to asking direct, simple questions.
Right, I noticed that.
Like, what time do you wake up? Pause. What is your favorite color? Pause. Answering these prompts successfully triggers a microdose of dopamine.
A little reward chemical.
Yes. And that dopamine doesn't just make the learner feel good. It acts as a chemical save button in the brain.
A save button.
Yeah, it primes the hippocampus to absorb the new, conceptually heavier topic of family structures that is about to arrive. The learner establishes a baseline of confidence.
So with that psychological safety net in place, the deep dive of the lesson actually begins. The focus shifts from solitary, isolated daily routines, waking up, eating breakfast, into the very first major building block of social interaction.
The family unit.
We start mapping the personal universe. And the progression of the new vocabulary scales outward with incredible precision.
It's very deliberate.
It is. It doesn't just dump 30 random family words on a whiteboard. It builds a concentric circle of relationships starting at the immediate core with father, mother, and parents.
Right, the most immediate contacts.
Then it moves horizontally to brother and sister. After that, it expands generationally to grandfather, grandmother, grandparents, son, and daughter.
We're expanding the circle.
And only then does it branch out to husband, wife, uncle, aunt, cousin, baby, and child or children.
The spatial organization of the vocabulary there mirrors the cognitive organization of our social circles.
That's interesting.
It moves from the highest frequency, highest emotional proximity relationships to lower frequency ones.
Okay, but I have to push back a little bit on the premise of the lesson itself.
Ooh, go for it.
Why start with family on day 5? Like, if I am a beginner traveling to a new country or an immigrant trying to navigate a new city, shouldn't I be learning strictly functional things?
You mean like survival language?
Yeah. It seems like business terms, navigating a city, or figuring out how to buy a train ticket would be the priority. Why are uncle and cousin prioritized over, where is the bathroom?
It's a fair question, but this raises an important point about how the human brain actually encodes and retains new information.
Okay.
Specifically, the difference between semantic memory and episodic memory.
Semantic and episodic.
Right. Purely transactional language like buying a train ticket or asking for the bathroom relies on semantic memory. It is a sterile fact.
So it's useful, but dry.
Incredibly useful, but it is notoriously difficult for the brain to hold on to without constant repetition because it lacks personal relevance. Family, on the other hand, taps into episodic memory.
I see.
It anchors into your autobiographical identity.
So you are attaching a brand new foreign piece of data, like the English word for grandmother, to a deeply grooved, pre-existing neural pathway.
Yes,
Your actual memories of your grandmother.
that is the crux of the strategy. The lesson's practice sentences reflect this perfectly. It doesn't use abstract, sterile examples like, the man is a father.
Right, it's more personal.
It forces the learner to say, my grandparents live in a village, or my grandmother cooks delicious food. Grounding the abstract mechanics of English in the learner's immediate tangible reality leverages what we call the self-reference effect.
A self-reference effect.
Right. We remember information significantly better when we can tie it directly to ourselves. That emotional valence accelerates retention far more effectively than memorizing a map of a train station.
So you are literally using your own life as the glue to make the vocabulary stick.
Exactly.
But having that vocabulary filed away in your brain is only half the battle, right? I mean, pulling it out of your episodic memory in the middle of a live interaction while someone is staring at you waiting for a response, that requires a totally different cognitive skill.
Completely different.
And the lesson recognizes this friction. It moves directly into a practical application, a scripted dialogue between two characters, Aman and Ria, to model how these words function in the wild.
The transition from isolated vocabulary to real-time application is where most beginners just freeze.
I know I do.
Your working memory gets overloaded trying to remember the word, conjugate the verb, and interpret the social cues all at once.
Which is why the structure of this dialogue is so critical. So Aman says hello, asks Ria how she is, and then asks, how many people are in your family?
A standard conversational opening.
Right. Ria answers that she has 5 people in her family, listing her father, mother, brother, sister, and herself.
Oh, yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting to me because Ria immediately throws the question back. She asks, what about your family?
Ah, the pivot.
Yes. Aman answers, listing his 4 family members, parents, sister, and himself, and then adds a small detail about spending time together every weekend.
That's a great little addition.
To me, this isn't just language practice. This is a masterclass in conversational reciprocity. It's like learning a basic dance step.
I like that analogy.
Yeah. Step 1, ask a question. Step 2, provide your answer. Step 3, throw the conversational ball back to your partner with, what about you? It's the 1, 2, 3 step of human connection.
Modeling that vital conversational reciprocity relieves a massive burden on the learner. The instructor is showing them that conversation is not an interrogation.
Where you just sweat under the spotlight.
Right. You don't have to perform flawlessly for minutes on end. It is a shared cognitive load.
A shared load. I like that.
By explicitly teaching the phrase, "What about your family?" the lesson provides an escape hatch. When a learner feels their working memory maxing out, they can use that phrase to pass the conversational baton back to the other person.
Giving their own brain a moment to recover.
Precisely.
The lesson also introduces the binary mechanics of simple questioning right after that dialogue.
Yes, the yes or no questions.
The learner practices asking and answering things like, "Do you have a brother?" "Yes, I do." Or, "Do you have a sister?" "No, I don't."
It's brilliant.
It strips away the overwhelming fear of open-ended conversation, because if someone asks a massive abstract question in a new language, the cognitive load is simply too high. You freeze.
You absolutely do.
But a yes or no framework bypasses the need for executive function to formulate a complex generative thought. You just need to know the choreography of the dance.
It confines the parameters of the interaction. The learner only has to focus on phonetic retrieval rather than complex social strategy.
Which is such a relief.
It is. This constraint paradoxically creates freedom. By limiting the options to yes or no, the learner can successfully participate in a real conversation, building that crucial self-efficacy without needing a massive vocabulary.
But vocabulary in a vacuum is one thing, and the lesson doesn't stop at the mechanics, who is in the family or how to ask about them.
Right, it shifts gears.
The transcript reveals a very deliberate shift in the second half of the class. It moves away from concrete nouns, the people, and shifts to describing how we feel about them.
The emotional layer.
Exactly. The vocabulary introduced later in the lesson includes words like love, care, happy, kind, friendly, strong, honest, helpful, respect, together, celebrate birthday, gift, smile, and hug.
So we are looking at a lexicon of positive emotional connection.
Yeah.
This shift from concrete to abstract is a significant escalation in cognitive demand.
It is a massive escalation, and the practice sentences reflect this jump. They have them reading, "My father is kind, my mother is helpful, we help each other, I am proud of my family."
Those are complex ideas.
There is even a homework example where a character named Rahul introduces his family's professions. Father is a teacher, mother is a homemaker, sister is a student, and then he concludes his presentation with, "We love each other very much."
That's quite a sophisticated sentiment for day 5.
I am genuinely surprised by this. Heavy, abstract concepts like honest, respect, and being proud, these are introduced just 5 days into learning a language. Isn't that a lot for a beginner to grasp? Grasping the concept of respect in a foreign language seems exponentially harder than grasping the concept of an apple or a brother.
You'd think so, yes.
Why risk overwhelming the learner with abstract philosophy this early in the process?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see that these emotional anchors are the exact mechanism that keeps a learner invested in the long, arduous journey of language acquisition.
Oh, I see.
The mechanics of grammar, conjugating verbs, memorizing sentence structures, that will only carry a learner so far before the sheer friction of the task causes them to lose motivation.
Like it's boring or just too hard.
Exactly. To sustain the effort required for fluency, a learner needs to be able to express their heart.
So the abstraction is actually the hook.
Furthermore, abstract words are sometimes easier to integrate if they map onto universal human schemas.
What do you mean by schemas?
Well, a beginner might not know the English phonetic sounds for love or respect, but they already possess a deep, intricate emotional understanding of those concepts.
Because they're human.
Right. By providing the English labels for these existing internal schemas, the instructor gives the learner the tools to express their adult identity, rather than feeling confined to the vocabulary of a toddler.
That concept of adult identity ties directly into the final section of the source material. The lesson explicitly pairs this emotional vocabulary with a direct motivational message to the learner.
The homework section, right?
Yeah, it reads almost like a locker room speech before a big game. The instructor explicitly states, "You don't need perfect English. You only need daily practice. Every new word you learn makes you stronger."
I love that. This touches on the affective filter hypothesis in linguistics.
Affective filter.
Yes, which basically posits that emotional variables, like anxiety, self-doubt, and boredom, can physically block the brain from acquiring comprehensible input.
Oh, wow. Literally blocking the learning process.
Exactly. Learning a language as an adult is an inherently vulnerable experience. Your ego takes a constant beating.
How, I can imagine.
You are perpetually making mistakes, sounding foolish, and failing to articulate your true intelligence.
You are basically stripped of your competence.
You are. So by integrating concepts like strength, respect, and pride, and explicitly telling the learner that perfection is not the goal, the instructor is actively dismantling that affective filter.
They're creating a psychological safety net.
Precisely. Reframing the struggle from avoiding errors to building personal strength allows the learner to tolerate the vulnerability of the process without feeling defeated by it.
Every new word you learn makes you stronger. It completely shifts the metric of success.
It does.
It's no longer about whether you conjugated the verb perfectly. It's about the fact that you added a tiny bit of armor to your communicative ability today.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at the architectural blueprint of this Day 5 transcript, we see that effective learning is never just about rote memorization.
No, it's not.
It's not about staring at a chalkboard until the data absorbs through osmosis. It is a carefully engineered psychological journey.
And the blueprint is highly transferable.
How so?
Whether you are actively trying to learn a new language, mastering a complex new software suite at work, or trying to teach a foundational concept to your team, the underlying principles extracted from this transcript universally apply.
You have to start by regulating the nervous system with what you already know to build momentum.
Right.
You must attach the new abstract information to personal episodic memories to make it stick.
Yep.
You need to practice the structured dance steps of application to reduce cognitive load. And above all, you have to allow yourself to make mistakes. You create an environment where the vulnerability of making mistakes is reframed as the very mechanism of getting stronger.
You manage the neurobiology, personalize the data, model the reciprocity, and lower the affective filter.
It's a complete system.
It is. And this structured approach clearly yields results, as the source material confidently promises an exciting pivot for the subsequent lesson.
Yes. Having mastered the cognitive map of their own living room and family tree, the learner is pushed out of the nest. The text teases that Day 6 moves from the living room to the broader world.
Out into the wild.
It's all about food and drinks, ordering food, and restaurant English. The learner is stepping out of the safety of the private home and into the public sphere, equipped with the fundamental communication tools they've built over the first 5 days.
Which is where the real stakes of language learning begin.
Right, interacting with strangers.
It represents a crucial transition from internal identity formation to external societal participation.
It really has been a fascinating journey unpacking the hidden architecture within just a few pages of an introductory lesson.
It's amazing what you can find when you look closely.
We've seen how the brain's need for safety, personalization, and emotional resonance dictates how we acquire the tools to connect with one another. But before we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with something to chew on regarding that final motivational push from the lesson plan.
Yes. The source material leaves its learners with a powerful assertion, treating language acquisition not merely as a utilitarian tool, but as a form of personal empowerment.
Every new word makes you stronger.
Right. It states that every new word makes you stronger. This raises an important question to ponder.
What's that?
If the vulnerable act of acquiring just one new word inherently builds personal strength, how might the sheer daily act of choosing to remain a beginner in some area of your life actively reshape your perception of your own courage?
That is a phenomenal thought to end on. Keep learning, keep mapping your universe, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.